Do you buy any secret islands or some hidden sport car or change to a big mansion or something like that?
No, I think.
Hi, welcome back. In this studio with me is Mr. Lui from Farm Fresh.
Thank you, Peter, for having me here.
Mr. Lui, how's your day?
Okay, good as usual. But today I'm coming from Johor rather than from farm.
So, Mr. Lui, how's a day like for you these days?
The earlier days compared to now, I think many have changes. As opposed to the earlier days, I think I would say 70% of my time is in a farm. That was during the setup day, whereby the learning curve was very, very steep for us, in a sense that dairy farming in Malaysia in a hot climate like this are very, very challenging. Then the later part, a bit more on the sales and marketing in terms of processing, investment. And today, I think probably Jacob had coming along very well, our senior farm manager. So he was our intern with us about 7-8 years. So Jacob had done a great job in the farm. So my times in the farm probably in that sense been reduced. He's taking care of it. And then now, post-IPO, there's another new chapter again, regional growth. In fact, next week I'm going to Manila, right, wow, to see that, to make sure that the plants are all ready to operate and things like that. So my role actually changed a fair bit over the years. The time how much time I spend in the farm and factory,
When you first started this Farm Fresh, no one ever think of doing that. That's a crazy idea. How did you juggle between a crazy idea and it is actually possible and keep going on doing it?
I think what we realized at a point of time is that the market really do not have a decent fresh milk, right? They are all reconstituted for milk powders, and Malaysia has been chomping down the milk for the longest time. So when we started, we realized that, hey, this milk tastes very, very different, and we know that we have we have the right product in hand, right? It's just a question of scaling it. To be honest, I think the earlier part of the startup, I also underestimate the difficulties of doing dairy farming, right? I thought, you bring in the cow, sayang them, and then milk them, and then you get the milk, right? So, but it was wrong because it was so challenging. And I remember when I built the farm, because it's dairy operation, so it was an old mining land, that kind of land we can afford, right? Whole area, they dig all the hole all over the farm, and you can't, it's hazardous for the cow. So we need to, fill it, get a bulldozer to cut, and then get it done, nicely, plant the grass, so the cow can roam around. So I remember the bulldozer guy talking to the contractor, say, hey, shit, you sure or not? This sounds like a crazy guy, right? The way he do, you sure I got money to collect or not? At the end of the day, am I going to get payment or not, right? Nobody with the right mind will do this business, right? So the guy, the way he talked, I was taken back as well. I said, oh my God, that bad, right? So, but
what year was that? It was your first year in the business?
The first year, as we were clearing the land, we were building the paddock, we were planting the grass.
He just said right in front of your face.
No, he didn't. He talked to his contractor. So later part, the contractor tell me, the bulldozer guy was a bit hesitant to do the job because he's scared, he couldn't get paid, right? So that kind of pessimism that they have, right? But we were quite sure that, if we get this right, we know there is a market for us, right? And then when the product go out to the shelf, we realize there is a lot of repeat customer. Right. And then we realize that, any product that when you have repeat customer, you know that you have the right product, right? So I think, and then from there on, I think, thank God we got Khazanah coming in to enable us to scale,
Before you were doing this cow business, right, were you at all in any form of agriculture business?
So I was in packaging business for 20 years, right? Then after that, I decided to, to move on to do agriculture. And what I have in mind was very, very clear. I wanted to do food productions, right?
Why food production?
For me, I think I truly believe that the food business is a very resilient business. And interestingly, last year when I was in Singapore, in this Forbes CEO Global Conference, I think one of the highlight was the Kun Danin, Sharon Papan boss from Thailand. Steve Forbes actually interviewed him, for the night, right? And imagine this guy, right? You tell the audience he only do food business over the last 40, 50 years, and look at CP Group, how big they have grown, right? They have 450,000 employees worldwide and doing an 82 billion US turnover. So I think the food business, like what Kun Daning was sharing, he believed in it because everybody need to eat, and it's a very, very sustainable business. And if you done it right, you will only see your company continue to grow from there. Yeah. So at the point of time, I was in the packaging business, the up and downs and all this, losing customers, and customer relocating. Suddenly you lose a very big customer that even you serve them very well.
Yeah.
It's very painful. So when I come out, I think my mind was very clear. I want to do a food business, whether it's the fruits or vegetable or livestock and things like that. My mind was locked in that.
Right.
So after when we do a few, we realized that, hey, this dairy business, it's the way to go. So what I did post that decision, we liquidated all the other operations. We sold off, I even with arowana fish, I sold off my arowana fish, and then we just focus on the dairy. And I think, that's what we are doing now.
And from fish to cow, right? It's a whole different set of knowledge, I believe. Yeah, and is anyone in your team there at the point, a vet or something like that? How do you learn even about all this? And you're from packaging. There's nothing to do with agriculture in your background.
Yeah, I know. I think we are all learning from scratch, and then, but I mean, because I come from a kampong boy, right? From Setiawan, so agriculture wasn't something that is very, very new to me. My dad planted tapioca, rubber estate, oil palms, and things. So that itself sort of like set me in a sense that I come from kampong. I know what agriculture is all about. You have to work hard. You have to do all this job, in order to learn, right? When I was young, I don't really like study. I finished my Form 5, barely passed. But when you're into the business, I begin to read a lot of books. My bedside is full of whatever books that I can find to read relevant to what I want to learn, right? So I used to joke with my wife. I say, have I studied that hard when I was young? I say, today I'll probably be a lecturer or a professor, right? So
luckily you never studied that hard.
So it's a very, very steep learning curve. And what make it worse that, the dairy industry, unlike the poultry industry, or oil palm industry, is a very matured industry. You're in that space, you're able to recruit very, very experienced guy, right? So in our case, there isn't any big dairy farm technical team for us to recruit. So we just have to learn our way out. And the early years, I brought in a lot of vet from Thailand. Yeah.
Right.
So then from there we learn from them. Right. We built our local team. Today we only left one. Turk is still with us. He's in charge of the embryo IVF unit.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. I think for many people out there, very often when they want to start something new, whether it's a business or anything, generally they always have this answer, right? I don't know anything about it. I need to learn first. Then they'll just keep saying they're learning and learning and learning, and they will never start because they haven't learned enough. But in your case, you went into this business and you were learning as you start. So what is the one thing that you say to these people who are actually like delaying their action because they are learning?
I think in my case, right, I felt that one person, you got to have a very strong sense of conviction, right? If you are determined that this is the path that you're going to take to go down, right, and you've decided on that, you have to have action. If there's no action, nothing happens, right? So I think you start it, and then along the way, you just have to learn whatever, like even today, our plant, for example, Farm Fresh as it is today, I used to tell the team, right, it is about continuous improvement. It is a continuous learning, technology change, market changes and all these sort of things. So you just have to continue. That doesn't mean that you already do well. This thing is going to be there forever for you, right? So as I say, that the mindset of learning, I think, is very important. But I think in my early years, I think it was purely based on my sense of conviction that I know I really make up my mind I want to do food, right? So I do a few, and then I narrow down to the one that I think that give me the best potential, and I then just dive into that and just focus on that to ensure that the company takes off.
Yeah, so as a family man myself, there are times that as I'm building this business as well, I would ask myself, why not just go and work for people, right? Or either do something safer, at least, I don't put my family in this kind of risk. And sometimes I feel almost kind of bad as well. So how do you deal with that emotion?
At the point of time, I didn't think it was that big of a risk because you bought a land, you do whatever agriculture produce that you produce, and then you meet it to the market. As a marketing guy, we know what to do, right? So I personally don't see as a very very big risk, right? So when I go in to do livestock, right, and then livestock. Cow can die, right? Things like that, livestock. So I think that is a bit of risk down there, in a sense that what happens if there's a disease outbreak, like the chicken flu or whatever, right? Swine, you can wipe off your entire mob, right? So I think at the point of time, I do have certain worry in a sense that, hey, now I'm doubling it down. If it doesn't go right, the consequences can be, quite drastic, right? But then again, when you reach that point, you just have to do it already, right? So I think that is something that I can only admit at the point when I go in, I didn't thought it was that difficult.
At the point, it's like you're already there. You just have to make it work, right? There's no other choice.
Yeah. So that's why people think, hey, this stupid law, midlife crisis or what at the age of 40 plus, doubling it down, scaling here, scaling there, right? So I think yeah, that was how it is, right? Yeah.
Were there any points in building this business that you actually thought about, like, I better just really consider giving up?
I think regret, yes. I think to come to a point that I want to give up, I think no. I never reached that point. But because of the challenges that you faces, the amount of degrees of difficulties that you go through, right? I do felt regret and oh shit, why cutting, gonna do this kind of a difficult path, right? You would have been better just stay back. I think there are times, I do have that come to my mind, but giving up, no. I think, but I still know that there is a great opportunities that I just have to go through that growing pain, to learn enough and scale enough, and then with the correct funding, because the last thing you want that you don't have the runway as a business on the pick up, right? You already no more cash already, so that is a bit of risk that I was contemplating. So and I say that thank God Khazanah coming in very very timely, that to fit the gap and then for us to actually go. Yeah,
Fantastic. Now let's just take a quick short break and we'll come back and we're going to talk about how Mr. Loy balanced between family life and career. Now, if you like what you are seeing, guess what? Tomorrow we are dropping another episode on the FAQ show where Frankie will go in depth into asking Mr. Loy about the business of Farm Fresh. Also, if you enjoy content about money, policies, economy, and how it affects your life and help you make smarter decisions, go and check out our other channels here. Alright, welcome back. We're going to talk about how Mr. Loy balanced between family life and career. Now, running a big company, and even in the early days when it was small, definitely the business takes up a lot of us. I had the opportunity to speak to your family member, and he mentioned that every weekend you're going to make sure you're going to be home. And so what is your philosophy of work-life balance?
So I think in my early years of career, or even on my second stage when I built Farm Fresh, right? I think the hours, is indeed very long, right? I sleep in the farm for many days and things like that, in Kota Tinggi, going in, coming out. But I try to make it a point that, when the day to rest, you try to be at home, and then those are the rest day, right? So, but in the early years, maybe WhatsApp and all this wasn't that prevalent yet. Nowadays, sometimes Sunday you still can get quite busy with WhatsApp. So I think it's a mind that you need to set, in a sense that when it comes to weekend, you just have to try to shut down and take a good rest, and Monday you charge again, right? And I think when doing some my second part of my career, which is when I was building Farm Fresh, right? I think the one thing good is that my children have already grown up a bit. We accept one of my youngest boy, my two eldest one is really quite grown up. So I think that also gave me a bit of a flexibility that I can spend a bit longer hours and things like that, as opposed to the early years when your kids are growing. So I think my wife also play a very pivotal role that ensures that, while I'm struggling building the business, she have to keep the house in order, right? Yeah.
During that time, right, when your kid was small and everything all, do you actually bring him to the farm and let him see what you're doing so that he learn up about like, hey, this is what daddy is doing, that's why I'm not home.
I think my younger boy did spend a bit of time, to join me here and there, go to the farm, look see around, things like that. So I think, the kids are still schooling kids, right? Basically just to expose them. So I think in terms of the thoughts of them learning to run the business down the road, I don't really have that much of the thoughts in the sense that bringing them into the farm or bringing them to the factory or whatever the marketplace is with a view like grooming them to take over the business. That wasn't the thoughts behind. Yeah.
For myself, I have 2 kids, one 2-year-old, one 5-year-old, and one of my favorite things is actually to bring them to the office. I always tell my wife, I say, let the kids come, because I spend a lot of time in the office as well. Only until last year, middle of the year, I started to feel that I'm missing out a lot of time. Then I make it a point by 8:30, I will try my very best to just head home. Because previously also I used to sleep in the office, just like you did in the farm, right? But like you say, I'm not bringing them in for the intention of telling them that, hey, one day take over the business, but it's more like to show them that this is what I'm doing, and I hope one day you will appreciate the idea of pursuing a dream and pursuing work to give your best to it, because that's something that you can be proud of, and that's how I feel. What about yourself, like in terms of something that you want to teach your children or to inherit to the family in that sense, in terms of value?
Yeah, I think I 100% agree with that. There's just, as I said, that when you want to share with your kids, right? I think hardworking is, to me, I think is a must, right? A lot of people find that you spend so much hours in the work and things like that. Especially young people, they might not look it that way. I want to be 8 to 5, 6 p.m. I don't want to put that kind of long hours. I don't know what they call it, work-life balance and things like that. So there is a lot, 5 days a week and all this other thing. In those days, we work every day, right? So I think this is something that I agree with you, right? When the kids go with us, they will know how long hours we put in and how busy we are, right, throughout the day. And this is something that you wish that you can inculcate that to your kids, to understand that in life, I used to tell people sometimes you just have to tip your toe, to actually win, right? Because everybody else want to do that, right? So if you are hardworking, you put in extra hours, chances is that you will excel, right?
I also heard from your son actually that you have taught him a lot about money. Yeah, in a sense where he was telling me that sometimes when he spend money, you will start telling him, hey, that equals to how many bottle of milk that I sell. Yeah, so would you like to share with us, what are some of these things about values about money that you share with your children?
Yeah. I don't come from a very poor family, but neither is a rich family, right? My dad and my mom, we are considered there's always food on the table, right? That's how I grew up, right? And over the last 30, 40 years, the amount of time I spent on work, the amount of challenges that we need to face, building a business, I know it is not easy, all right? And there's a lot of efforts, how a person value, your how you treat partners, all these are things I think is important in a sense that a person reputations and all this, right? So I think this is important. So for me, in my case, I literally built whatever I have today is self-made, right? So maybe my 2 elder kids, when they were much younger, right? That time, I have not established myself. They probably, have a different. My younger boy probably coming at the later part, then the dad is more established, so he got probably a bit more privilege in a sense, right? So you wanted to guide them in a sense that how the value for money. So sometimes just because life is good, sometimes you tend to take things for granted. You less appreciate the value of money because it all come very easy, right? So this is something that I tend to be worried about, that my children take money too lightly. Not that you want to be stingy, but you have to understand the value of money, how hard this money. Even if you don't have it, right, to make a few million or tens of million, it's not going to be that easy, right? So yeah, that is very important. Yeah.
As a father myself, like I say, and you also being a dad, right? And someone who just started a business not too long ago. We started Mr. Money at 2019. Yeah, so about 3 to 4 years, into the business. Yeah. What is one advice that you can give me as a father who started a young business? Is there any advice that you can share with me?
Yeah, I think what is very important, in terms of hours that you need to put in. Sometimes I think depends on what industry you're in. Some industry that it is so challenging, right? There are deadline you need to cash. There are competition that coming in, you have to react, and all these things that causes you to actually spend more time in your work, and the hours can be long. Now, if you have a wife that is not understanding enough, that can create you a lot of pressure in a sense that I think then your kids' expectation. Kids usually tends to be, when they're young, tend to be easier to manage, right? Until when they reach 10 over years old, probably you need to spend a bit more time, right? Now you're saying that they're 3-5 years old is a lot more easier to manage. So when they reach the adolescent age, I think the time with them is even more important. I think, because if you are not careful, they got the wrong company, then you can really ending up with a problem. So I heard there are many business people that make it big time in their life, right? Makes lots of money. But then they look back, the families are upside down, the kids are terrible and things like that, broken families and all this sort of things. So I think the value of how you measure the things, I think this is something that is very important. You don't want to win big time on one thing and then you lose the most valuable, important part of your life, right? So I think this is where I think there's no one advice that can fix every family. Chinese say 家家有本难念的经, everybody got a difficult scripture at home, right? So this is something that I think you need to really be mindful of. Yeah.
So just like you did mention one thing, a supportive wife, right? Yeah. How important do you think is a man in choosing the right wife? And how much of a role the wife will play in your success?
I think if my wife listens to this, I'm in trouble. She always claims credit. Do you know or not? For a man to be successful, the woman behind them is very important or not. So I'm not going to argue about that.
But is there any advice for the people out there who are actually thinking about this question? Like, hey, one day I may want to start a business and I'm looking for a partner in life. What are some important qualities do you think this person should look for? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the very hard advice, right? I really can't. Because I've seen couples that both husband and wife in the business, right? And if they enjoy the business, they build a company along that is another wonderful thing. But then again, if you're husband and wife together in the business, then who look after the kids, right? so sometimes it's not that we want to be chauvinist, right? Hey, I do the working, you look after the household, right? So as I say that, what kind of life partner you wanted to choose? Well, it's up to you to see that, how, unless if you delay your having kids at a later age, right? But then again, you if you want to start the family early, right? When you have the kids, right? So there's a lot of young couple now. Oh, I don't give birth first. I want to enjoy life first. So there are many.
Up to them, right?
Yeah.
Everyone got their own choice. I'm one that cannot work with my wife.
Okay.
But my wife is extremely supportive, and that's something that I always tell my staff and everyone else that I know. I say that it's very important to find the right woman in life,
absolutely,
or partner,
absolutely,
because it will really determine how high you can go in life as well.
Correct. That's very true.
But how to choose the right one, I don't have much advice actually, because to each of his own, right? Okay. Yeah, I've heard people who met for 2 days get married and perfect. And I've met for people who know each other for 10 years and get married and then didn't go well as well. So I think that one is only God knows lah. Huh?
Okay, yeah, that's agreed. Yeah.
For anyone else out there who are thinking about work-life balance or something like that, or like thinking about how much should I sacrifice to pursue my dreams or success in life, right? What's one advice that you give them?
So I think every individuals are very, very different. So to me, as I say that the numbers of hours that you need need to put in. It very much depends, I've seen some tech guys, the hours that they put in is unbelievable, right? When they do coding or whatever they're doing, right? So I think different business, entrepreneur path, I think it can be very, very different. Depends on the space that you're going, how challenging it is. But if it is very, very challenging, you have to face because you choose that path, right? So sometimes I think like F&B business, sometimes some people going in down there, the amount of time they need to spend on the kitchen and things like that, when chef didn't show up and things like this is something that you must be prepared to sacrifice if there is a problem, right? There's no two way about it, right? It's your business. If you don't fix the problem, you're gone, right? Yeah.
So basically, instead of thinking about work-life balance, think about what you need to do.
Correct. So that is why, as I say, building team. This is why, as I say, I remember, that this is something that the sooner you build out your team that are able to manage the business, then you'll be able to a bit more relaxed. But if you don't have, your downlines are not strong, everything come and revolve with you, every little things come and bugs you, right? Then I think it will be more challenging if that is the case. Yeah.
What is your philosophy in this whole building a team leadership?
How I look at one individual to begin with, I think the first most important virtue that I have inside with them is that I think you must have integrity. The integrity to me is very, very important. If a person that if you are very smart, very capable, but if you not the true north, you are not very honest, for example, right? Then I think it is pointless to groom a guy like that, because eventually you're gonna have problem. Now, I think that to me, I think usually I don't tolerate dishonesty in my company. If they are, then usually I will just remove them, right? Because this is something you're going to have a problem, right?
Yeah.
Now, having picked up with people of good qualities, right? Of course, then it has to be bright as well, because we are competing with all the multinational companies. It's not, all these company have been there for centuries, all these big company, multinational, right? So you got to have a team that are really, really up to the mark to take on them, because it is not easy to fight them, right? So I think over the years, let's say for example, there are some of my core teams that we built the business along the way, and we have the very old team that helped to build out the business. My thought is that the transition time usually is a bit of a challenge, because the original team, for example, right, is good enough to build a business from ground zero to maybe 300 million, 500 million. So when you go beyond that, right, you need a different skill set. Distributions are different. Things start to change because of the sheer size of the scale, right? This is where I think sometimes you have to bring in new talent, different type of expertise that you needed to support running a plant, with say 30 million liters a year, or running a plant with 80 million liters a year. The amount of changes in the plant, the amount of logistic handling, you're talking about 15, 20 trailers, 25, 30 trailers outbound that dynamic really, really changed. So, and I found that, this kind of transition usually a bit difficult, in a sense that the old guard, right, feel that now you don't appreciate me anymore. I'm the core team. I'm building out this business, right? And so I think that part of the transition usually a bit more difficult. Take a bit more efforts to actually get them to understand that that if it is beyond you, right, and you still want to hold it there, then what? Then the company cannot grow, and then got shackled by you, and then consequently, right, we're going to go on the decline. So I think this is something that I believe that, maybe those big multinational companies, they don't have the problem, but from the startup to build out the business, usually you at some point you go through that pain. Yeah, you have to do the transition properly. Yeah.
That's true. I think this is one conversation that we are starting to learn to get used to, even in our business. We started as a two-man team, just founders, and then today we have 14 people, still hiring. And recently we learned a few things, right? We need to start hiring middle manager, because in the past you are down there on the ground, right? And now you realize that, hey, it's hard. You really need someone coming in. Yeah, and when you have middle manager, in order to provide career progression, you need someone to also mentor them. So that came down to a question that we ourselves as founder asked ourselves the other day that, okay, so if we're going to bring in a C-level and this person is actually much better than all of us here, or better than any one of us here who are existing in those roles, what do we do? So we had to learn that, yeah, it's fine, then just let go of your position. You either find something that you can do, or either you grow into a position even better than person, or either you just let it go and be comfortable with it, because it is about a company and not about ourselves. I guess it's just part of professionalizing management that we have to learn, right?
Yeah, I think that is true. I think in my case, I always view ownership and and running the company, is something different, right? You can be the owner, but if you can find, I wish that one day, or even sooner, that I can find a guy that even better than me, right? Then you do all the chores. I go and play golf. I go holidays, and I'm an owner. I still make the money, right?
That's
So
right.
that would be the best. Well, how well are you not happy with that, right? So I think to me that is something that if you think because you are the owner you want to be there, right? So I think it is very different. Different people will think differently. But to me, I think if you look at Farm Fresh, we run it very institutionalized. I prefer the company to be like that. If my children are capable, they want to be part of the business, you have to be good, to be in that business. Otherwise, you become an owner, right? So there's nothing wrong to be an owner down there and get somebody else to run the company for you. You get your dividend. The company continue to grow. So I think that is one thing that any business will reach to a point whereby the transition point will be a very, very important stage. Yeah.
Every businessman at the end of the day, it's when you build up a successful business, what you want is the business to live on as a legacy, right? And it should live on in itself, right? And I one day I can talk like you like that, like my children will be getting dividend and all, listed or whatnot, right? But let's move on to the next thing, right? When we talk about leadership, when we talk about working with people, hiring, and even business partners, right? We talk a lot about trust.
Correct.
Yeah. And over my years of just short 4 years in the business, I have to say that to learn to see through someone is a big lesson to learn. And it's one of the heaviest lessons, because just by trusting someone wrongly, it's painful, right? But also one thing, among the three of us who are business owners in this company, I'm one of the most believing guy. I trust people quite easily. And for that reason, I also get conned quite easily. Sometimes I get the company into some sort of trouble just because I chose to trust the wrong person. And they did tell me about it, and I'm okay with it, and I know that side of me, so I tell them to please filter through as well. Don't trust me for who I trust. You have to scrutinize those guys. But one thing also I did realize, and I did tell them, if I'm not so easily trusting, I also wouldn't have given you all the opportunity to work with me on this and be a part of this. And it is also because of that ability to trust someone, that I have great staff who sometimes others may not see their skill set, and they're given the opportunity and they shine greatly. So how do you actually balance in between willingly giving someone the opportunity and being cautious about it?
I think I tend to trust people as well, right? In order for me to put any of the key people, right, or how you work with people, I think trusting is very, very important. If I were to recruit someone of an important role, and I need to guard you and keep on checking on you, how to work, right? I think it's very, very difficult. So I think that there could be some sense of instinct, right? When you talk to someone, you talk to them, the interactions and all this, something whether these guys are okay or not. I think that is something that you hope that you always get it right, because when you get it wrong, like what you say, it can be painful, right? So this is something that, as I say, that there will be a couple of misses over the years, right? Not everyone that you judge that this guy is good, and then eventually it turns out well. I think trusting is very, very important. I think if you don't have a mutual trust relationship, particularly like my case, even within the partnership is even more important. Just like in my early years, when I deal with Khazanah, right, I tell myself that it is very important that I have to earn my trust from Khazanah, that I'm an honorable man, I worth trusting and things like that, right? So that paved way for a lot more easy working relationship, right? So like me, I can be, my other partners, right, my ice cream guys, like Edmund, or even, Xinhua and all these people. So I have to make sure that, you have the kind of credibility or reputation, people can trust you, or, you also wish that they are very honorable people and you judge them correctly. And then, this is kind of mutual trust relationship, that you leave that business for them to grow. So I think it's very, very important. We got 1,300 employees across the company, right? And my Australian operation is run by my partners, Adams, right? So all this trust is very, very important, and you just have to make sure that don't pick a wrong one.
Let's go into something a bit more practical, right? I bet there are certain methods that you use, right? Like, for example, when you pick someone, you will have this. Like for me, I will think that the person, there's always the chance that this person will screw up. When I pick someone, I also know that like they are going to make mistakes. So I will let them play in this sandbox that I know the worst scenario, if they screw up, I still can handle it kind of situation. So what is some of the ways that you use to slowly test that trust and trust them with capabilities, right? And trust them with responsibilities?
For me, I tend to be a bit more tolerant if the decision is made for improvement of business or whatever it is, that it didn't turn out right, So I think that kind of mistake, I tend to be a lot more forgiving, in a sense, okay, you try, it doesn't work, then you go plan B or you go plan C, right? So I think that kind of trust in terms of, we will brainstorm certain strategic decision, the direction that we wanted to go. Once we agree on that, we agree on certain plan, right? And then the execution part of it, the detailed execution, the team will execute or the head of department will execute, right? So if there is some mistake along the way, I tend to be more tolerant to that, in the sense that, okay, then look at it, why it's not working, what we need to fix. But I make mistake also. I also make the wrong decision, But at the point of time when you make the decision, you make on the basis that this was the best for the company. But 6 months down the road, oh yeah, it wasn't a good decision. But but the intention wasn't bad, right? It was a bad decision. So I think I tend to be more tolerant to that kind of mistake vis-a-vis dishonesty on other things. Yeah,
it's okay that they make mistakes into operationally, as long as the intent is for the betterment of the company.
Correct. Yeah.
However, for you, the part that's not tolerable is when you place your own interest above the company, or the politicking, that kind of thing.
Different agenda,
different agenda.
Yeah.
Those are the parts that you're no go.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then along the way, definitely you have met success from selling goat's milk in the Pasar Malam, right, to today, owning a $2 billion market valuation company. And a lot of people say this thing: money changes people. How did money change you, or did it change you?
I think for me, I really enjoy building business, right? There are times, my wife was like, hey, why you want to do some more? Why you want to, expand some more, right? It's like, don't you have enough? Something like that, So I think it wasn't that, that drive me. I think my motivation about building this business, first, I think, I want to make sure that the Farm Fresh brand equities, the values and all this are continue to be preserved for as long as I'm around. And there are questions people ask me, Eloy, what happens if some days you're not around, right? Will the company change? Will the company promise is not being kept again, right? So back, I think those are the things that will remain to be seen, right? I think for me, it is something that I felt that money is important, right? Obviously, it's important, but it's not everything, right? How much can you spend at the end of the day? At some point, you have more than enough. You have more than enough, right? The extra zero is not going to make you any different person, right? So I think I remember some friends after the day when we go IPO say, hey, like how you feel? you know. See how
Buy
I
another
feel.
new house, buy another new car, anything like that.
No, I think, yeah. I mean, how many car can you drive, right? So I think to me, as I say that, it doesn't really change me, and I hope I will not be changed because to me, as I say, I'm pretty simple, right? So moving around, friends are still there and things like that. I think you don't have to just because you got extra money, you will be a different man. So I think I'm quite sure that those things doesn't change me. Yeah.
Right. Do you buy any secret islands or some hidden sport car or change to a big mansion or something like that?
No, I think, yeah, property you don't mind, right? Sometimes property is an investment as well. If you buy some properties, you live in a bigger space, give you a bigger space and things like that. I think those things to me is fine because you spend so much of time at home, right? You work hard, you reach home, you want to be comfortable, have more space for yourself. I think, those are investment. It doesn't go down. Vis-a-vis, you buy a sport car. Some people have 10, 15 sport car. I'm not into sport car. So different perception of value for money, right? So I think that is something that probably, yeah, from property I don't mind. Yeah.
But from what I've heard, actually, you guys did not even change a new house after IPO. You are still staying in the same old place.
Yeah, we are still staying in the same old place. But I do acquire some property and building up. I wanted to have a bigger garden for myself, right? So when I'm at home, I tend to spend more time in a patio or in a gazebo.
Do you have any advice for any entrepreneurs who kind of like make their first goal, right? Yeah. How should they manage that money?
Yeah, I think to me, being prudent, right? It's very, very important. I won't use the word frugal though, right? If you work so hard, you make your money. You should pamper yourself a little bit here and there, family holidays and things like that. Live in a better house. Have a better. So I think that is fine, right? I think not excessive. How because I'm not sure how you define, when you make your first pot of gold, how big is the amount. Sometimes a few million ringgit now is not a big money, yeah. Even 10 million, if the moment if your business run don't have that kind of income, right? Business changes, right? Then if you are burning on your old earning, it doesn't last you many years, yeah. So I think you have to be very, very prudent in that sense, yeah.
How much money do you think an entrepreneur should make before he think about, I'm going to change to a nice big bungalow? Don't say him lah, but for yourself. Just now you did mention 10 million is not a lot. So if let's say you have 10 million ringgit that you have already accumulated, not in the company but in your own pocket, would you actually consider buying a big bungalow? Or will you like say, nope, let's just keep that for rainy days?
I think I read somewhere, I think Lee Kuan Yew, right, the Prime Minister of Singapore, I read, he was saying that the Chinese people tend to be very frugal and very, very, very prudent in their spending, right? Until and unless they're very, very sure I have enough, then I will start to spend, right? So I think you have to look from the sense that your existing business, does it continue to give you the income? Now, I always think that if you do not have a continuous income, what you have, it get depleted very, very quickly. So more important that the business every year give you the income and you accumulate enough already, then you think that, okay, now I can pamper myself with a little bit, I can be a bit more generous to my kids, or myself and things like that. So I think there is no, it's very, very individual. Some people feel that 10 million is very little. Some people think, okay, maybe 100 million is still little, right?
So for yourself, it's not so much of a number, but have you established that machine that gives you the income regularly to live the lifestyle you want? That would be a more important measure, lah.
Correct. So you see, like say for example, like Farm Fresh, if we continue to do well, right, we continue to grow, the dividend incomes alone can keep the family quite comfortably as well. So I think that's how you should look at it, right?
I've asked your son, what would people say about you, or what does he think about you? He said that you're strict but fair. Can you tell us more about what do you think he means?
I think being straight is something that, I think in business, right, you have to be straight in the sense that, how the company been run, because we have competitors to beat and we have competitors coming after us as well. So I think those things that we set out to do, I would expect the team to really carry out and really, really put in the effort, So I think that is one thing, when it comes to work, I tend to be a bit more strict. Personal things, right? I tend to be a bit more compromising because it's your personal level, right? So sometimes those things that you can even doesn't necessarily do well. You tend to say, okay, now my just a personal thing.
Now that you're really doing so well, your wife also asks you, what keeps you keep going? So, uh, what keeps you going actually?
What kept me going? I think the teams are very big as well. The company have grown to this stage, right? So I think thank God, if you ask me 7-8 years ago, will I ever imagine that I'll build a company of this scale? A company, a brand that is so well loved, brand equities are strong. I honestly, at the point of time, we only know how to, just do our best at every stage of our operations, and our growth. So we just continue to put in those efforts to make sure that I think the value that we just hold on to a very, very strong value to make sure that Farm Fresh business today, we wanted to make sure that we give the best to our customer, a healthy product, not something that at the back we tell our children, hey, you don't take, this one you don't take, but we'll tell you, your kids, very good for your kids, right? So these are the things that we never want to do. So I think our core value of the company that we hold very close. If you ask me from the personal level, is it I want to make more money for myself? I don't think so. That was my motive, or rather that kept me motivated. It's more about the whole company, right? How the brand evolve, how the company evolve, which category that we go in, which category we do well. If they are not doing well, okay, what can we do to beat competition? That kind of maybe excitement. so that keep everybody on top, everybody still. I always tell the team, right? Notwithstanding whatever you do, please stay hungry. So I say that keep you motivated, right? Energetic in the sense that I'm hungry. I want more. I mean that is from the companies, but not so much as in my personal belief, right? As in my personal requirement, right? But from the company standpoint, I think you want to run the business, the team, everybody. Because you also want to reward them as the company grow, you want to give them the career advancement, then therefore the company have to excel.
If anyone were to ask you today, hey, Mr. Lui, why are you actually successful? Can you tell me why are you actually successful? There's so many people out there, but why you? What would you say?
First thing, I thank God. I think He has been extremely graceful to me, right? So I think to be honest, I think one person you can only be, as hardworking as you want to be, right? So as I say, there's so many people are hardworking, so not necessarily you are hardworking and then you make it, right? So I think in my case, I think honestly, over the years, I think my own value in terms of what I believe in and how I pursue it, the strength of conviction that I wanted to do something, I will continue. I will really, really try for it, and the team that I have, I think probably that also helped me in a sense that I do have a few very, very good founding team that the core team that I have, that each of them that I can trust, that they are able to be doing what they're good at, and that all the act come into actions, but God grace is there for me to think of to compete with people like Dutch Lady, Nestle, and all this, right? Malaysian Milk and all this. It's unthinkable, honestly. Yeah.
If there's a legacy you want to leave behind to the people around you, or to be remembered as, what would it be?
Oh well, I never really think about this legacy things, right? I think what we wanted to build. I think the one thing that about Farm Fresh, right? I think how we inspired people, that you seemingly almost an impossible task, right? That anyone who think that you raise a cow, you want to fight with these big boys, and then dethrone them to be a market leader. I think it's hard to actually comprehend, honestly. But what we have achieved, right, to sure believe in yourself, the hard works, and the value that you're consistent with, and eventually to what you are today. I think that give all the rest of the young people, don't be too chicken up when you face the big giant, right? There is way to go around if you are able to really, really put in the thing, don't discount the fact is that you will still, you have the ability to beat them. But that is that, that is something that although it doesn't seem easy, but look, there you are, right? A guy in Kota Tinggi with 60 cow coming from nowhere, and then there you are. I really hope that that from entrepreneur journey have to believe in themselves that the odds are really really against you, seemingly not possible. But I think there are cases that you still can make it. Yeah.
I like what you say just now. Don't chicken out. So thank you very much, Mr. Loy.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you for doing what you are doing. The truth is, you did not just make yourself a multi-millionaire and billionaire in valuation. I've heard your story even before you guys went IPO, like I said,
right.
some of your earlier stock case and so on.
Right,
and they themselves also became millionaire because of this business, right? And I think that this is also, in my opinion, part of a very good nation-building contribution,
Right.
not just as a business in itself. And I love the fact that there's this story. Yeah, this one. I have to add it in, right? I heard there's a story that it's a Chinese, Malay, Indian. It's super one Malaysian kind of thing, right? And that's one of the reasons I love this, the brand they built, the company they built so much, right? Maybe you can share with us a little bit about it. Like, what do you think about this whole thing contributing to a multiracial society and being in Malaysia? How do you think you're making an impact in that scene with what you did?
Yeah, I think Azmi and I have gone a long way back. We are like friends, like a brother, like that, 20 over years. And I'm one person that I think I really don't look at color of his skin. Everyone has to have his own merit, his virtue of the person, the characters of the person, and that doesn't take colors or religions into consideration. He is who is, right? I think that's very, very important. So I think because of that, I think the way we run our company is very, very, very much based on merit, your ability, how good you are, in which aspect you're good, so things like that. So it doesn't matter you come from which religion or which race. I think that's why. And then as the company do well, right, we always believe that, you can make money, right? But then how about other people, right? So this social thingy impact, like how Azmi and I, we built those stocky system, the housewife and all this. We impact thousands of people's life in a very positive manner. Some of them make millions, some of them make a few 100,000, some of them make 10,000, some of them make 20,000. But it's like you don't have to sit down there every day wait for the brim, right? Government give you 300, government give you 500. This one you are able to create. This is why the government appreciates us as well. How we actually create this opportunity for thousands of housewives to make a living, And I remember the very early stage when we do. I saw a Facebook posting, a Malay lady, home dealer, with a shoe and a school bag, and then he said, Alhamdulillah, I was so proud that I sell farm fresh milk. Now mommy can afford to buy you a new shoe and a new bag for your new school season, right? I look at those postings, I was so touched. I feel that, a little gesture from us, an opportunity that we created for these people. If they hardworking enough, they can make a living. 800 ringgit in a rural area is a big money, right? So I think these are all the things that, I felt that, Azmi and I, or Jacob and all this, so Jacob, Indian boy, KL boy, but very passionate about dairy farming. Thank God I got him as well. So I think these are the things that, we don't talk about race and religion, yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Loy. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this session and tell us what you think in the comments below. See you guys.
Thank you.